A few disclaimers before I begin this session. First and foremost, that there will be a lot of pictures and videos used in this presentation, and they are solely used for the educational purpose. So if there is any breach of copyright, it is completely unintentional and out of the knowledge of the presenter. This particular presentation is copyrighted, so taking pictures and using them in a social platform is not permitted. Please do not ask for copies of these presentations. So because this is a copyrighted presentation. I do not claim that the information provided in the presentation is my own. I have derived references from a lot of sources which are available in public domain. So I have used all these kind of sources, and here am I presenting all these information to you. A couple of things that you need to note during this entire session. Firstly is to keep your audio on mute throughout the session. There would be certain times when I would be unmuting your audios. At that particular time, also please ensure that the background sound that you're sitting in do not disturb other participants. This workshop demands complete physical and mental attention of the audience. Mental, of course, and physical because you will have to read through what I'm putting on the slides. And at the same time, there would be a lot of audios and videos, so you will have to listen and read to them. So your physical attendance is equally required. Interactions are going to be the key of this FDP, which means that we are going to have a question answer session at the end of every session. So here I want your contribution and interaction. There would be a few assignments which would be given at the end of every session. So these assignments are basically meant for self-learning and they have to be completed on time. Of course, we are not going to evaluate these kind of assignments, but it is for your benefit that you complete these assignments at your level. Let me set the objectives of this webinar very clear. Firstly, it is to create a research-oriented approach among the participants. We all are researchers, either young or professional researchers, so we need to have a research-oriented approach. This is going to be a common learning platform for all of us to exchange our views on this particular topic. So even your views are welcome. To guide young researchers on the methodology of research, there would be certain researchers who are very young to research, and maybe this would be very useful for them to understand the methodology. And basically, it is to publish papers. I have written here hospitality because a lot of people are from the field of hospitality, but the methodology for research would remain the same in any domain. So this should result into publication of research papers at the end of it. What is my role going to be in this particular webinar? Is it going to be the sage on the stage who is going to give a lot of gyan, or is it going to be a facilitator? Definitely, it is not going to be a sage on the stage. I would rather prefer to be a facilitator. Rather, we all are going to facilitate through this entire webinar. So let's enjoy this webinar. We all know that we all have a subtle phobia for research. And we always tend to have our own excuse for not researching. There are a lot of senior professionals on this group, so they would also have their own set of excuses. The first and the foremost excuse and the mostly sought excuse is that we are very busy and we really do not have time for research. The second one is why us? Because there are a lot of teachers on this group. I have put this, why us? We have been teaching since ages. And because we are teaching since ages, we really don't want to do research at this particular phase. So that could be one of your excuses. Sometimes people feel that this is wrong, especially in hospitality business. The more focus is on operations, and probably research is not the priority. And that is what the people feel in the field of hospitality. There would be also similar other domains where operations are more important than research. So those people really feel that research is secondary. So these were a set of excuses which probably researchers would have. Just give me a second. Which probably researchers would have. Now let's come to the set of excuses that young researchers would have. Young researchers might feel that we are very raw for research and let my seniors follow do the research and then I'll follow them. They also feel that I do not possess the aptitude which is required for research, and that is the reason it is not my cup of tea. Some people are so comfortable in their domain that they feel they really don't want to come out of their comfort zone. Especially a lot of teachers are pursuing PhD because to aspire promotion, but there would be a lot others who would say that I am not aspiring promotion right now. So why should I think of research? Whenever I aspire promotion, that time I could think of it. So these could be a set of excuses that young and senior professionals would have. But I am sure since you all have registered on this particular webinar, you would not be having any of these excuses. And I hope that you will get rid of any of these excuses which are there in your mind. Okay, let's really go to the basics. We are going to talk about what is research. So basically research is nothing, it's a creative work, we all know that, and it is undertaken on a systematic basis in order to increase the stock of knowledge. There is already a lot of knowledge available in the public domain. So what researchers do is they add on to the knowledge, they add on drops to the ocean. So that is what research does. Sometimes it uses the stock of knowledge to devise new applications. As we all know that knowledge is useless unless it is applied properly. So this particular knowledge can be applied in devising applications, and research is very important for that. Research is used to affirm the results of previous work. A lot of researchers have really put their hearts and souls into researching, and whatever previously they have found out, our research would probably affirm the results that they have found out. Sometimes it may solve new problems or existing problems. It may support theorems, or it may develop new theories. So all said and done, research is something, it's a very systematic work, creative work, and increases the stock of knowledge. That is what we take away from this slide is. Here's a video, we'll just listen to this video.
Did you know that in college and university?
Just take a quick thing. Is the video audible to everyone when I started it?
Yes.
So this is audible.
Okay.
Yes. Research has a different meaning than it has in high school. In high school, it means information retrieval. You have a research topic, you retrieve information on that topic, you look it up, and then you take that information and you put it in your paper, and that's your research. In college and university, information retrieval is not research. It's an aspect of research, but it's not research. Retrieving information does not make you a researcher. It makes you a retriever. Now, don't misunderstand me. There's nothing wrong with retrievers. Some of my best friends are retrievers. But we shouldn't confuse them with researchers, because researchers are a different animal. Let's compare the two. How are retrievers and researchers different? For one thing, retrievers move in a straight line, because retrieving published information is usually pretty straightforward. But researchers don't move in a straight line, because they're trying to answer questions that don't yet have neat and tidy answers. They often face obstacles and have to zigzag or go in circles for a while. They often have to try different approaches because some approaches just don't work. That's why researchers have to be more tenacious than retrievers, more reflective and brooding, and more ambitious. The goal of researchers is to see further than previous researchers were able to see. They do this not by rejecting the work of previous researchers, but by relying on it and building on it. As Isaac Newton famously put it, "If I have seen further than others, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." The underlying reason why information retrievers and researchers are different is that information retrievers look up existing knowledge, what we already know, while researchers pursue new knowledge, what we would like to know. That's the key difference. Let's illustrate this. This map shows the territory that an army has control over in an armed conflict. The army's goal is to expand the territory under its control and add new territory. To do that, the soldiers have to be positioned at the front, not in the interior. Research is like that. The goal of research is to take the existing knowledge on a subject and expand it by adding new knowledge. To do that, researchers must work at the frontier of knowledge, trying to answer the questions that confront us at the frontier. What does this have to do with you? When you choose a research paper topic, you can't focus on existing knowledge. You have to choose a question at the frontier of knowledge. That question will be your research topic.
So we just saw that what is the difference between information retrievers and researchers. Researchers basically built upon the knowledge which the earlier researchers have found out. So here in research, perceptions are very important. So you need to widen your perceptions. Here we can see two gentlemen looking at one particular problem. One sees it at 6 and the other sees it at 9. So this is what a difference of perception is all about. We need to have a 360-degree view of the problem whenever we are researching at it. This next slide is about a small 10-second video. Just have a very quick look at the video. It is about widening of perceptions. What we normally see into the video is some people see that there are some gentlemen standing on the platform. There is some litter fall on the platform because they feel that we should not think about the obvious. But yes, the obvious thing is that there is a moving train which is passing the station. And if you actually have a closer look at the train, you can see the train. If you look at from the left brain of yours, you can see the train going into the tunnel. Whereas when you use your right brain, you can see the train coming out of the tunnel. So this is exactly what we need to change the perceptions when we're looking at a research problem. We need to view it from different perceptions so that we get a 360 view of research problems. And believe me, you have to use both the parts of your brain when you're doing research. We are going to talk about research problem or research topic, commonly known as. First and foremost, let's understand what you mean by research problem and what are the conditions or prerequisites for it to be called as a research problem. So problem can be called as a research problem only when it satisfies the following conditions. Firstly, it should be viable and potential to stand as a research problem, or in simple language, it should be worth studying. Sometimes it does happen. There are certain problems which do not have a social relevance, which means that they're not going to be of any use for the society, which means they're not worth to study. They're not worth to put in your time and money. So such problems really do not have the potentiality to study. It must also have social relevance. A society faces a lot of challenges, a lot of problems. If your research is not going to address any of these social challenges, then probably it's not a very good problem. So you should really it should really have social relevance. There must be a felt need of research over the problem. There could be certain problems which actually nobody bothers, nobody cares for, in that particular field. If you take that as a problem, it would not be a relevant problem. So the problem should really be a demanding problem which is seeking answers. So your research problem should satisfy that condition. As far as possible, it should be untouched by others. Again, when I mean it should be untouched, even if it is touched by others, you should try and build upon the knowledge. Because you need to have some peripheral knowledge to be added to that particular research. Like we saw in the earlier video, you have to add on to the existing knowledge. A research problem must come out with practical solutions to these issues. Like we all know, knowledge without practical application is of no use. But even idealistic solutions are not what is expected. These solutions should be applied in practical life. So your research should come out with practical solutions to any particular issue. As far as possible, a social research problem must be up to date or relevant to the current social happenings. I am studying something which is 10 years ago. In these 10 years, the world is changing at a very, very, very rapid pace. So we have to ensure that our problem is the current problem. At times, you might think of future problems which we are going to, or future challenges which we are going to have, and you can start doing research on that. So it should be completely relevant to the current social happenings. We will just have a quick look on how do you come to a particular research topic. We normally follow an approach which is called a broader to narrower approach. So when we talk about that, first thing what comes into our mind or whatever interest is the broader topic. For example, I am a chef by profession. So probably food production is the area which is interesting me. Or probably I would, from hospitality industry where work-life balance is a very critical thing. So these are the two broader areas in which I would like to research on. Then at the second level, I try to narrow down my topic in food production and decide a subtopic wherein I decide that, okay, molecular gastronomy is something which I would like to study. Or in work-life balance, I would like to study the work-life balance of female employees. And then what I do is I conduct a lot of literature review. Literature review will tell you what other researchers have worked on this particular topic earlier. You will get a 360-degree view of the entire topic. You will get your perceptions clear about the topic. At the same time, you will also get to know what the researchers have not done in the previous research. And these are exactly what you would want to work upon. So these are called as research gaps. So you need to identify the research gaps through the literature review, and then finally finalize the topic by which you attempt to bridge these research gaps or probably create a different dimension to the problem. So, or you add on to the knowledge of the existing research work done on that particular topic. Here is a theory which is called as Moon and Mars theory. We all know that we have explored the Moon enough, and we have some better knowledge about the Moon as compared to Mars, because Mars is comparatively an unexplored planet. So in research also, there would be certain topics which are extensively approached, or there would be certain topics which are not very much explored. So with topics which are not very much explored, or whether they're explored, you have ample scope of research, and you need to study those topics in that particular thing. Topics which are researched, obviously there is a lot of research work which you can build upon, and topics which are not been researched, that definitely it is open for your study. So this is the Moon and Mars approach. Here we will just come to one particular assignment wherein these are self-learning assignments, like I said, wherein you have to select a topic using the directions that we just had and phrase the title. When you finalize the title, you please ensure that the title will reflect what you really want to do in research. Sometimes the title of a particular book tells you what the contents of the book would be. So similarly, the titles of your research paper or your research would tell you exactly what you're going to do in the research. So this is going to be a first assignment. Another eight minutes left in our presentation. So probably there is one brain teaser which I'm going to just explain it to you. You can take a picture of this teaser and probably work on it the entire evening. And tomorrow in the second session, the first thing we'll discuss is about this brain teaser. These brain teaser is, you can see in this teaser that there are 4 gentlemen sitting. On the left hand side, there are 3 gentlemen sitting at different level, and there is a brick wall in front of them. On the right hand side, there is 1 gentleman sitting, and all these 4 gentlemen are facing the brick wall. You can also see all these 4 gentlemen are wearing caps, and you can see that there are 2 white caps and 2 black caps. Now, one thing you have to know, you must have noticed that the person who's sitting behind can only see the people who are sitting at his front. For example, A can see B and C, B can see C, and C and D cannot see anyone because there is a wall in between. So now the challenge is that these people, without removing their caps, without looking behind, or without interacting with each other, they have to identify the color of cap which they are wearing, or he or she is wearing. So that is the challenge. What you know, they only know one thing, that there are 2 caps of white color and 2 caps of black color. Although in this particular picture, you can see the sequence, these guys do not know the sequence. It's in what sequence these 2 white caps and black caps have been given. So what is your role in this entire thing? Now you will have to judge that which person out of these 4 people would be able to announce the correct color of his cap, and you will have to state the logic by which he announces that. No guesswork allowed, no assumptions allowed. So you will have to clearly say, if it is A, B, C, or D, who will announce that he is wearing so and so color cap, and what would be the logic behind his announcement. Mind you that whoever announces this, others can hear their announcement, but a wrong announcement would not be heard. Only the right announcement would be heard. So that is exactly what it is. And only one person gets a chance to announce. So this is just a brain teaser for the day.